Most people go through life pouring their time, energy, and attention into everyone else. Yet when it comes to themselves, they settle for less. They ignore their own needs, they silence their own voice, and they accept treatment that falls below their worth. But here's the truth. The way you allow the world to treat you is a reflection of how you treat yourself. If you don't value your time, your focus, and your energy, no one else will. Today is not about waiting for permission. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, from this moment forward, I choose to focus on me, I choose to value me, and I choose to rise without apology. When you think about it, every single day you are teaching people how to treat you. Every action you take, every boundary you set, or fail to set, communicates your worth. The problem is, too many of us are walking around handing out discounts on who we are. We lower our standards to be accepted. We shrink our voices so we don't offend. We give away our time, our effort, our attention, often to people and situations that don't deserve it. And then we wonder why we feel drained, why we feel unseen, and why we feel like our value is overlooked. It isn't because you're not enough. It's because you keep giving yourself away for less than you're worth. Think about it this way. If you walk into a luxury store, do you see those products sitting there with bargain tags slapped on them? No. They are placed with intention. They carry a certain price because they know their value. They don't beg for customers to notice them. They don't chase approval. They stand firm. And guess what? The world respects that. People pay the price because the value is clear and undeniable. You are no different. The moment you stop discounting yourself, the moment you stop giving people the version of you that costs you everything and earns you nothing, that's the moment the world begins to respect your true value. But here's the challenge. Discounts feel safe. We think if we lower the bar just a little, if we compromise just enough, we'll be accepted. We believe people will stay if we make ourselves easier, cheaper, or more convenient. That's a lie. The truth is, when you undervalue yourself, you don't just lose respect from others, you lose respect for yourself. And nothing eats away at confidence faster than knowing you betrayed your own standards. Every time you settle, every time you tolerate less than you deserve, you reinforce the belief that you are not worth more. And that belief is what limits your growth, your relationships, and your future. So I want you to ask yourself, where in your life are you giving discounts? Is it in your career, where you accept less pay than you're worth? Is it in your relationships, where you tolerate being treated like an option instead of a priority? Or maybe it's in how you treat yourself, pushing your needs to the side, silencing your goals, and constantly putting yourself last. Because if you can identify where you're discounting yourself, then you can also decide to stop. And when you stop, something powerful happens. You reclaim your focus, your time, your energy, and most importantly, your self-respect. The world doesn't give you value. You set it. And the more you choose to honor yourself, the more others will rise to meet you there. But it starts with making that choice, right here, right now. No more discounts. Focus is the most powerful currency you have, and yet it's the one people spend carelessly without realizing the cost. Every time you give your attention to something, you're investing in it. You are pouring your energy, your mental strength, your time, things you will never get back, into that moment. The problem is, most people don't treat their focus like it matters. They scatter it everywhere, on distractions, on negativity, on people who drain them, on endless scrolling, on worrying about things that don't even move them forward. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, unproductive, and stuck. The truth is simple. You can't build a powerful life if your focus is fragmented. Think about the most successful, disciplined, resilient people you've ever seen. They're not superhuman. They're not born with extra hours in the day. They simply guard their focus like it's gold. Because it is. They know that where your attention goes, your energy flows, and results show. It's not about doing everything. It's about choosing the right things and locking in. Focus is what transforms effort into progress, and progress into success. Without it, you're just busy, but never effective. Here's the reality. Distractions are everywhere. They come disguised as opportunities, as people who need your time, as noise that pretends to be urgent but isn't truly important. If you don't take control of your focus, the world will take it from you. You'll find yourself constantly reacting instead of creating, constantly putting out fires instead of building your own vision. And the more distracted you are, the easier it becomes to live life on autopilot, moving, but never really going anywhere. When you decide to value your focus, you start filtering. You begin to ask yourself, does this deserve my attention? Does this conversation, this habit, this relationship, this task align with where I want to go? If the answer is no, you cut it out. Not because you don't care, but because you refuse to pay the price of wasted focus. Every time you say yes to the wrong thing, you are saying no to the right thing. And the right things, your goals, your growth, your future, are too important to keep ignoring. Think of focus as a lens. When it's scattered, the light diffuses and nothing burns. But when it's concentrated, it ignites. That's why some people achieve extraordinary things in the same 24 hours everyone else has. They are ruthless about what gets their focus. They don't chase every distraction. They don't answer every demand. They don't water down their energy. They pour it into the things that matter, and they let everything else go. That's not selfish. It's necessary. Because if you don't guard your focus, you will end up building someone else's dream instead of your own. The choice is yours. You can treat your focus like loose change, dropping it into every passing distraction. Or you can treat it like the currency it is. Spend it wisely, invest it carefully, and watch it multiply into results you never thought possible. Boundaries are not walls. They are not selfish. And they are not about shutting people out. Boundaries are about protecting the most valuable resource you have, yourself. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are silently saying no to yourself. And over time, those small betrayals add up. They steal your energy, your peace, your confidence, until one day you wake up and realize you've built a life that doesn't even feel like yours. That's what happens when you don't honor boundaries. You slowly erase yourself. The reason so many people struggle with setting boundaries is because they're afraid of disappointing others. They worry what people will think if they say no, or if they pull back, or if they refuse to tolerate certain behaviors. But here's the truth. Every time you make yourself smaller to make someone else comfortable, you are teaching yourself that their needs matter more than yours. That's not kindness, that's self-neglect. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about making sure you are not lost in the process of showing up for others. You see, people will only treat you as well as you require them to. If you make it acceptable for others to walk all over your time, to speak to you in ways that break you down, to drain your energy without giving anything back, then you are sending a clear message. This is okay. And once that standard is set, it becomes very difficult to undo. But the moment you decide to enforce boundaries, the moment you decide that certain behavior will not be accepted, everything shifts. Some people will respect it, others won't. But either way, you will have chosen to respect yourself first. Boundaries are also about clarity. When you know who you are, what you stand for, and what you refuse to tolerate, you create a foundation of self-respect that cannot be shaken. This is why some people walk into a room and instantly command respect. They don't even have to ask for it. It's in the way they carry themselves, the way they communicate, the way they refuse to compromise their standards. That energy doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from boundaries. And here's what most people don't realize. Boundaries don't push the right people away. They filter out the wrong ones. The people who truly care about you will respect your limits because they want you to thrive. The ones who get angry, the ones who push back, the ones who make you feel guilty, those are the people who benefited the most from you having none. Losing them isn't a loss, it's a gain. Because when you enforce boundaries, you make space for relationships, opportunities, and environments that actually align with your worth. So the next time you feel guilty for saying no, remind yourself of this. Every no you give to something that drains you is a yes to your own growth, your own peace, and your own power. Boundaries are not selfish. They are the highest form of self-respect. And until you set them, you cannot fully value yourself. Noise is everywhere. It's in the endless opinions of people who don't live your life. It's in the constant pull of social media, telling you who to be, how to look, what to want. It's in the chatter of those who doubt you, who criticize you, who think they know what's best for you. And sometimes, the loudest noise comes from within, from that inner critic that never stops reminding you of your mistakes, your failures, your fears. If you don't learn how to silence the noise, you will never hear the most important voice of all, your own. The reason noise is so dangerous is because it distracts you from clarity. Clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. It comes in moments of stillness, when you're willing to step away from the chaos and actually listen. But most people never give themselves that chance. They're so consumed with the world's volume that they confuse external noise with internal truth. They chase validation, they try to keep up, they mold themselves into what they think will be accepted. And in the process, they lose sight of who they really are and what they truly want. Silencing the noise isn't about ignoring reality, it's about choosing which signals deserve your attention. Not every opinion matters. Not every voice needs to be heard. Not every criticism requires a response. When you give equal weight to every single piece of noise, you end up carrying burdens that don't belong to you. You spend your time proving yourself instead of improving yourself. You drain your energy fighting battles that don't move you forward. And slowly, you start living someone else's version of your life instead of your own. Imagine what happens when you shut out the unnecessary noise, when you stop comparing yourself to people who are on completely different paths, when you stop listening to critics who don't even have the courage to step into the arena you're in, when you stop letting negative voices occupy space in your mind rent-free. You create room for focus, for peace, for clarity. You begin to hear your own intuition more clearly. You notice what feels right for you, what inspires you, what pulls you toward growth. That's the power of silence. It reveals truth. The world will always try to be loud. That's not going to change. There will always be people with opinions. There will always be distractions begging for your attention. But you get to decide what makes it past the filter. You get to decide what earns the right to shape your thoughts and your actions. That decision is where your power lies. Because when you choose silence over noise, you are choosing clarity over confusion, growth over distraction, and strength over doubt. The question is, are you willing to step back from the noise long enough to hear yourself? Because until you do, you'll always be running in circles, chasing voices that don't matter, while your own voice, the one that holds your truth, goes unheard. When you truly understand your value, you stop treating it like a negotiation. Too many people walk through life acting like their worth is up for debate, like it can be bargained down depending on who's standing in front of them. They lower their standards when someone challenges them, they soften their voice when someone questions them, and they make excuses for people who give them less than they deserve. That happens because somewhere along the line, they believed the lie that their value depends on external approval. But here's the truth. Self-value is not negotiable. It is not something you ask permission for. It is not something you explain, and it is certainly not something you apologize for. Think about how often you've second-guessed yourself before asserting a boundary, before asking for respect, before demanding what you're worth. You hesitate because you worry about being called difficult, arrogant, or selfish. But the people who benefit from you undervaluing yourself will always have something to say when you start standing taller. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you've finally stopped playing small for their comfort. Real self-value means you don't shrink to fit spaces that were never built for you. You take up the room you've earned, unapologetically. When you set your value as non-negotiable, you stop justifying why you deserve respect. You stop explaining why your standards matter. You stop apologizing for expecting the best from yourself and from others. Because respect is not something you beg for. It is something you command through how you carry yourself. And once you treat yourself like you are worthy, the world has no choice but to adjust. People rise, or they fall away. Either way, you win because you've drawn a line in the sand that protects your dignity. The challenge is that society often conditions us to downplay ourselves. to be agreeable, to not make waves, to accept less so we don't appear ungrateful. But self-value doesn't mean you lack humility. It means you refuse to tolerate disrespect. It means you know your contributions, your energy, your presence have weight. It means you don't settle for relationships that diminish you, workplaces that underpay you, or environments that undervalue you. You stop letting others define your worth, because you've already defined it yourself. Self-value is also about consistency. It's not enough to value yourself when it's easy. You must value yourself when it's uncomfortable. You must value yourself when people walk away because they can't meet your standards. You must value yourself when doubt creeps in and whispers that maybe you're asking for too much. Because if you bend every time resistance comes, you haven't really claimed your value. You've rented it. And rented self-worth can be repossessed the moment someone disapproves of you. Real self-value is owned, permanent, untouchable. So stop treating your worth like it's up for debate. Stop lowering it when people question you. Stop apologizing for having standards that protect your peace and honor your growth. When you know your value, you stop asking for a seat at the table. You bring your own chair. The people you allow into your life are not just visitors, they are architects. They either help you build or they slowly tear you down. Who you let in shapes your mindset, your habits, your confidence, and ultimately your future. Too many of us underestimate the power of proximity. We think we can surround ourselves with negativity, with mediocrity, with people who constantly drain us, and somehow remain untouched. But energy is contagious. Attitudes are contagious. Ambition, or the lack of it, is contagious. And if you are not intentional about who gets access to you, you will eventually absorb the very patterns that hold you back. Look at your circle. Do they challenge you, or do they keep you comfortable? Do they support your growth, or do they quietly resent it? Do they speak life into you, or do they constantly feed doubt into your spirit? Because every voice you allow close to you becomes an echo in your own mind. If you spend enough time around people who think small, you will start to shrink your dreams to fit their expectations. If you surround yourself with people who gossip, complain, and criticize, soon enough, you will find yourself speaking their language. But if you choose to be around people who think bigger, who push you to aim higher, who demand the best version of you, then you cannot help but rise to meet that level. This doesn't mean you cut everyone off or isolate yourself. It means you learn to protect access. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table, and not everyone should be allowed to influence your path. Some people are meant to be in your life for a season, but not for the long haul. And it's your responsibility to recognize when someone's presence is no longer helping you grow. Keeping people around out of guilt, fear, or comfort is one of the fastest ways to sabotage your own progress. You become like the people you spend the most time with. That's not just a saying, it's a reality. Their habits rub off, their standards influence yours, and their mindset shapes the way you see the world. If you want to elevate your life, start by elevating your circle. Seek out people who inspire you, who live with discipline, who pursue excellence, who refuse to settle. And if you can't find them right away, immerse yourself in the voices of people who push you forward through books, speeches, and environments that challenge you to think differently. Your circle doesn't just consist of people you know personally, it's also the voices you consume daily. Protecting your circle is about protecting your future. Every person you allow close to you either adds to your energy or drains it, either sharpens your vision or blurs it, either pushes you to rise or pulls you to settle. And if you are serious about valuing yourself, then you must also be serious about valuing who you let near you. Because at the end of the day, you cannot build a life of strength, focus, and value while being surrounded by people who thrive on weakness, distraction, and doubt. Power isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you build, and the foundation of that power is focus. Scattered effort produces scattered results. When your energy is divided between too many directions, you end up moving but never arriving. You're busy but not effective. You're active but not impactful. That's the trap so many people fall into, mistaking motion for progress. True power comes when you channel your energy into fewer things, but you give them everything you've got. That's when breakthroughs happen. That's when results shift from average to extraordinary. Think about a magnifying glass under the sun. When the rays are spread out, nothing happens. But when the glass concentrates that light into a single point, it ignites fire. That is what focus does for your life. It takes your raw potential, your skills, your energy, and channels them into something sharp, something unstoppable, something that burns through obstacles. Without focus, your gifts are diluted. With focus, they become a force. The reason many people never reach their potential is because they allow themselves to be pulled in 100 different directions. They chase every opportunity, say yes to every request, and dabble in too many things at once. They're exhausted, constantly moving, but never truly mastering anything. And here's the truth: power is never built in fragments. It's built in depth. It's built when you commit, when you dig in, when you give one pursuit your undivided attention until it transforms. Focus builds power because it demands discipline. It forces you to say no. It requires you to cut out distractions, resist temptations, and sacrifice instant gratification for long-term impact. And while that's uncomfortable, it's also what separates the strong from the average. Anyone can dabble. Anyone can scatter their efforts and call it multitasking. But the ones who win are the ones who lock in, who narrow their vision, and who pour themselves into what truly matters until they master it. Think about every great leader, athlete, or innovator you admire. None of them became powerful by accident. They weren't everywhere, doing everything for everyone. They were focused. They picked a lane, they committed, and they gave it everything. That's why they're remembered. That's why they made impact. Power doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters most, better and deeper than anyone else. The beauty of focus is that it compounds. The more you commit to it, the stronger you get. The stronger you get, the more confident you become. And the more confident you become, the greater your ability to push boundaries and break limits. Focus is not just about productivity, it's about identity. It's how you prove to yourself that you can trust your own discipline, that you can follow through, that you can stay the course. That trust in yourself, that's real power. So ask yourself, are you spreading yourself thin and wondering why you feel powerless? Or are you narrowing your focus, sharpening your aim, and building the kind of power that makes you unshakable? Because the answer will determine not just what you achieve, but who you become in the process. The truth is simple. If you don't invest in yourself first, no one else will. People often think of investment only in terms of money, but the greatest forms of investment are your time, your energy, and your focus. Too many of us are willing to give these resources away freely to everything and everyone, and then wonder why there's nothing left for us. You pour into others until you're empty, you chase validation, you overextend yourself, and in the process, you leave your own growth unfed. The reality is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot build a life of strength, clarity, and confidence if you keep putting yourself at the bottom of your own list. Investing in yourself doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you understand that you are the foundation for everything else in your life. If the foundation is weak, the structure will crumble. You can't show up fully in your career if you're constantly burnt out. You can't give your best to the people you care about if you never recharge. You can't reach your potential if you're always running on fumes. Taking care of yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, isn't optional. It's the prerequisite for everything else. The problem is, people wait for permission to prioritize themselves. They wait for someone to validate their worth, to say it's okay to rest, to say it's okay to pursue their goals, to say it's okay to demand better. But that permission isn't coming. If you don't claim it yourself, you'll spend your life putting yourself last, and the world will gladly keep you there. Investing in yourself means refusing to wait. It means deciding that your growth is worth the effort, even if nobody else understands it. Ask yourself, how much time are you spending on your own development? How much energy do you give to habits that strengthen you instead of weaken you? How much of your resources are you putting into building the future you want versus maintaining a present that drains you? The answer to those questions will tell you everything about how much you truly value yourself. Because the truth is, you always find a way to invest in the things you think are important. If you're not investing in yourself, it's because you haven't decided you are important enough yet. The people who rise, the people who build lives that inspire others, are the ones who stop waiting for someone to come save them. They invest in learning, in discipline, in health, in environments that fuel their ambition. They take risks on themselves. They sacrifice temporary comfort to create permanent strength. And over time, those small investments compound. They grow into confidence, into skills, into opportunities that others only dream about. That's the power of putting yourself first, not as an afterthought, but as a priority. So if you want to change your life, start with the person staring back at you in the mirror. Invest in that person, because if you won't, then why should anyone else? Your standards are the baseline you set for your life. They are the rules you create about what you will and will not accept, about how you expect to be treated, about the type of effort you demand from yourself. But here's the problem. Most people don't truly respect their own standards. They lower the bar when it feels uncomfortable, when it requires discipline, or when others push back. They say they want excellence, but they settle for convenience. They say they want respect, but they tolerate disrespect. They say they want growth, but they stay in environments that keep them stagnant. If you don't respect your own standards, no one else will. When you lower your standards to fit in, you send a message to the world that you don't believe you deserve better. And once that message is out there, people will treat you according to the level you've accepted. Think about it. If you set the bar low, people will step over it without effort. But when you raise the bar and actually stand by it, people either rise to meet it or they remove themselves. That is the filtering power of standards. They don't just define you, they reveal who truly belongs in your life. Respecting your own standards requires courage. It means being willing to be misunderstood, to stand alone at times, to risk losing people who are unwilling to rise with you. And that's why so many avoid it. They fear that raising the bar will push people away. But here's the truth. The wrong people will always resist your standards because they benefited most when you had none. Losing them is not a loss, it's a gain. It creates space for the people and opportunities that actually match your worth. Your standards are also a reflection of how much you value yourself. If you set high standards but consistently break them, you're telling yourself that your word doesn't matter. You're eroding your own trust in yourself. That's why so many people struggle with self-confidence. Not because they lack ability, but because they keep proving to themselves that they can't keep their own commitments. Confidence isn't built by chance. It's built by aligning your actions with your standards and refusing to compromise. Look at any area of your life right now, your relationships, your career, your habits. Ask yourself honestly, are you living up to the standards you say you want, or are you cutting corners because it's easier? Respecting your standards doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency. It means refusing to go back to the behaviors, environments, and people who don't align with the life you are building. It means refusing to accept good enough when you know you are capable of great. The moment you stop negotiating with your standards, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your confidence rises, your circle evolves, and your results multiply. People start treating you differently because you've started treating yourself differently. And the truth is, if you want to create a life of value and power, you must first prove to yourself that your standards are not flexible. They are your foundation. They are your compass. And they are not up for compromise. No one is coming to hand you your worth on a silver platter. No one is coming to knock on your door and say, "Here, take the respect, the recognition, the opportunities you deserve." If you want them, you have to claim them. You have to speak up, you have to stand tall, and you have to be your own advocate. Too many people stay silent, hoping that if they work hard enough, if they are patient enough, if they are agreeable enough, someone will notice and reward them. But silence doesn't get you seen. Silence doesn't get you respected. Silence doesn't open doors. It keeps you in the shadows, while others who are willing to raise their voices step into the light. Being your own advocate means deciding that you will not wait for permission to claim your place. It means asking for what you deserve, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means standing firm in your truth, even when others push back. It means making your voice louder than your fear. People respect what you respect in yourself. If you treat yourself like you're invisible, the world will believe you. But if you treat yourself like you are worthy of being heard, people will have no choice but to listen. Advocating for yourself doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean being aggressive or pushing others down. It means owning your story and refusing to apologize for it. It means walking into rooms like you belong there because you do. It means speaking your goals out loud instead of hiding them in silence. It means challenging yourself to ask for opportunities, promotions, respect, or even simple acknowledgement. Not because you're entitled, but because you've earned it. The danger of not advocating for yourself is that you give other people the power to define your path. When you stay quiet, when you settle, when you wait for someone else to decide your worth, you hand them control of your future. And the truth is, most people are too focused on their own lives to hand you what you deserve. If you don't claim it, it will pass you by. That's why being your own advocate is not optional. It's survival. There will be moments when advocating for yourself feels risky. You'll fear rejection, criticism, or judgment. But understand this: rejection doesn't diminish your worth. Criticism doesn't erase your value. Judgment doesn't change your truth. What weakens you is not the no you might receive. It's the silence you impose on yourself. Every time you stay quiet, you reinforce the belief that your voice doesn't matter. Every time you speak up, you reinforce the belief that it does. And over time, that belief becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence. So stop waiting. Stop apologizing. Stop hoping someone else will fight for you more than you fight for yourself. Be the one who raises your hand. Be the one who asks for the opportunity. Be the one who says, "This is who I am, this is what I deserve, and I will not be overlooked." Because the moment you become your own advocate is the moment the world starts to recognize the value you've had all along.